Hello everyone. This video is a tutorial on the working of Cassandra. Apache Cassandra is a highly scalable, high-performance distributed database designed to handle large amounts of data across many servers. It provides a high availability with no single point of failure, which makes it one of the best NoSQL database. Today, we will be discussing on the UI of Cassandra and how to use Cassandra from your local machine. We would also go through a simple select and insert queries on SQL and talk about the key space and its importance. Further, we would look through the Java API library files which is required to use Cassandra from any Java editor. And finally, we will look through the output and try to understand how we can relate the output to our application. So let us get started with the application. By opening the application, we can see the UI is pretty similar to that of Linux. Let us understand the use of SQL by writing few simple queries. So this sheet contains a sample SQL queries which explains the details of an employee. It contains few attributes such as employee ID, category ID, employee name, and etc. Before we start running these queries in the SQL, I would like to discuss about the key space and its properties like replication. Key space in Cassandra is a namespace that defines data replication on nodes. We need to make sure a cluster can contain only one key space for a node. We can also see from the code the create key space is accompanied with the term replication. The replication option is used to specify the replica placement strategy, or it's the number of replicas required or wanted. Using this option, you can instruct Cassandra whether to commit log for the updates on a current key space. By looking through the remaining part of the code, we can see that it's pretty similar to the SQL language, which is insert the details of employee into the table, and on the other side, we are also inserting into the category table along with the employee. So let us start running these SQL queries in our Cassandra SQL shell. Let us copy the first query and run it through Cassandra. We can see that this key space has been created. Next, let us describe the key space which would be used later on in the code. We can see that the key space has been created successfully by using the describe code. Furthermore, let us copy the whole set of code which is used to insert the values into our database. Just by copying and running the code, we can see that all the data has been added successfully. So let us verify whether the data has been added by running a simple select query. We can see that all the data has been successfully added into the database. We have so far seen the user interface of Cassandra and how to add entries and select the entries from the SQL. Now let us look into the Cassandra Java integration, which helps us to run the Cassandra queries from any Java editor. To run Cassandra on Java, I have made use of Eclipse. I have added the downloadable jar files in the Eclipse by creating a project called as Cassandra Database, and here you can see the list of jar files which have been uploaded. Further, I have also written a sample code on Java which helps us to insert and select the entries from the Cassandra database. So let us skim through the code and have a look at the code. Here you can see that we have created a package called as castest, which has been linked with the list of jar files. Further, we can see we have called all the driver files such as the cluster, result set, row, and the session. Let us get started by creating a public class called as employee details, which would be having the code to join in a cluster and a session. We need to take a session to connect to the cluster, and the key space would be followed, by which we would be using it for the insert statement. Similarly, we can see here the insert statement has been executed with a new set of data which is not available on the existing database. If you see furthermore down, we have used the select query to retrieve the values. Here we can change the value to 050, which is the value which I want to query before I insert. After we do the select query, we are assigning each value to a variable and we are trying to print the results out of it. Finally, we need to close the cluster after finishing the code. So this looks a pretty much simple code which helps us to understand the basics of Cassandra. But before we run the code, let us check the existing data which is available on Cassandra. To do so, we can just do a select query in the SQL shell. Here you can see in the employee ID, the 050 employee ID is not present right now. So let us run the code and see what happens. So it has gone good, and we can see here that the insert query has been successful because the select query has been working well. You can see that the employee ID has been printed correctly along with the other details of the associate. Let us cross-check by running the same query in Cassandra, the SQL shell. We can see here that the employee ID 50 has been added successfully with all the details present in it, which clearly shows that the code has worked properly. I hope you understood the basics of Cassandra through this tutorial. Thank you.